So some more recent rumors are saying that the iPhone edition is not going to be available until October. But that unveiling the pre-orders and all that stuff, of course, are going to be starting at the same time as the iPhone 7s, including the new Apple Watch Series 3. We haven't talked about it for a while. Let's talk about the next-gen Apple Watch. So I did do a collaboration video with Apple Watch World, and I talked about it on his channel, but I realized we haven't talked about it much on here yet. Personally, I'm really hoping that aesthetically, there's not that much of a design change. I'm really okay with the way the Apple Watch looks. And more importantly, I don't want the watch band attachments to change. I have so much invested into all of these Apple Watch bands. It's going to be ridiculous if they change that. But if anything at all, it would be great if they could make it thinner, but at the same time, I would really be okay with a battery life expansion. And typically, as you guys know how tech develops, the components on the inside can get smaller, which means that hopefully, building into the same form factor as the Apple Watch now, we can stuff in more battery, we can expand that battery life to be 2 to 3 days, and compete more with the Fitbit Ionic, sorry, I know what it is. And of course, that will allow for more options in the activity workouts app, as well as sleep tracking for people who want that. It's all about providing options, because honestly, the smartwatch market, while it is growing a lot, it's running out of things to add. I've talked about countless times how adding a camera to a smartwatch is a bad idea, but I understand a lot of you have recently subscribed, so let me explain. No matter what angle a camera on a watch is, it's going to look bad. See, when you talk to it like this, the camera is looking up your nose. Just take out the front-facing camera on your phone and put it where your watch would be to get an idea of what that angle would look like. So FaceTime calls would be really awkward. Selfies would not work because selfies, for those who don't know how to professionally take them, have to be taken from an upward angle looking down. You don't want to take selfies looking down at the phone, and at best you at least want to be level. So when you want to take selfies or you want a group photo with a smartwatch, you would have to hold it incredibly high up like this, and then of course your arm is already being used as the camera mount, which means you'd have to reach over again to take the photo unless you're doing a timer. So overall, I just believe that there is not a functional purpose for having a camera on a smartwatch. Series 3 isn't gonna have one. Now, I think the big changes we are going to see with the Series 3 is finally Apple adapting to cellular connectivity on the Apple Watch Series 3. This, of course, has been a thing on many other Android watches, but they don't sell that well. And many times in the past, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you understand that I kind of thought that was a bad idea, because I never think that the Apple Watch should truly try to replace your iPhone. Everywhere you go, you should pretty much keep your iPhone on you. The Apple Watch independently really shouldn't do that much. However, as we're running out of things to add to smartwatches, I think that very narrow occasion where you forget your phone, or maybe you're like me and you use your phone's personal hotspot a lot and you need it to stay in a specific place, when those rare occasions do pop up, it will be nice to have an option to have cellular connectivity. And there's a lot of theories on how the pricing for that Apple Watch will go. See, with cellular connected iPads, you just pay an extra data plan, and the hardware of the iPad itself actually costs a little bit more. However, I don't think it'll be exactly the same situation with the Apple Watch, because, you know, on an iPad, you can watch Netflix and YouTube. You can use a lot of data with an iPad. There's not even a web browser on the Apple Watch. You can't watch videos. You can't watch high bandwidth things. You can't browse the web. All you're really getting data-wise from your Apple Watch is notifications and basic data from your iPhone. So I think that the LTE watch will let you text people, and you could maybe even have some voice calls, but that's pretty much it. I'm not even sure if 100% of the notifications your iPhone will receive when it's at home will be able to relay onto the watch when you're out and about and in town. But as I've said in earlier videos, the idea of having an LTE supported Apple Watch could be really useful for parents wanting to monitor their kids. You know, they don't want to give their 6-year-old an iPhone because they can be dangerous, they have internet access, they can fool around with them, but at least with an Apple Watch, they could constantly check where their child is. If there is an emergency, their kid can call them or text them if there's something going on. But of course, you could set parameters and say, you know, when they're at school, they can't text, they can't call. And an Apple Watch feature-wise is far more limiting than an iPhone. So if the kid doesn't have an iPhone, but they have an Apple Watch, you can keep up to date with them. They can even close a few rings to stay active, but without having the full-fledged distraction of a smartphone. That's where I could see it being useful. I don't know if Apple's actually gonna do that, but I'm just saying that the option of adding LTE can have some functional uses, and I'm glad to see they're exploring that. But remember, it's not going to be required. A lot of people, of course, do not need LTE on their watch. They don't want to pay an extra data plan. You're still gonna have the regular standard Apple Watch to use. Rumors are saying that they're definitely going to still make a regular version without LTE, and I'm sure that one is probably gonna start at $370, $380. So don't worry, it's not being forced, it's just providing more options. And of course, the next thing I'm excited for is the functional smart bands. In tying this into my last point, perhaps, instead of designing two different sizes of two different versions of the Apple Watch, now making LTE and non-LTE and 38 and 42 millimeter. That can get out of hand pretty quick. What if, because there's rumored to be these smart bands that could add battery life or add functionality like being able to check glucose levels, perhaps adding LTE will just be something built into an Apple Watch band. That way they don't have to manufacture 4 different versions for each color of Apple Watch. Instead, they could keep just to the regular 2, and then if you want the added LTE support, you can get a specified band that has cell chips in it, and then you pay for that watch band. I think that would be a really easy way to unlock that LTE option, but of course that's not a rumor, that's just a theory, it's something I would do. And something people are really excited for is the idea that these functional bands will actually be able to monitor your glucose levels. This is a patent that's been passed many times. It's rumored that Tim Cook is actually wearing one already and has been testing this feature. And if that is true, this could change the wearable market for diabetics all across the world. I have a ton of friends actually who would use that and have said that if the next Apple Watch does have diabetic support and it's able to monitor your glucose levels without actually puncturing your skin, which based on some recent patents Apple's been passing, it seems like that may be possible now, tons of people would suddenly have that urge to go out and buy an Apple Watch because they can measure their blood sugar levels, which is really important. They're often required to do so. And that would make it, of course, very, very easy. You could get notifications when you need to give yourself a dose of insulin instead of having to manually check it, which of course is a bloody process, gets tedious, and I think this is something that Apple would proudly try to step in and help people with. So I'm also really hoping that the Apple Watch Series 3 remains the same price as the Series 2 is now. And on top of that, I think that Fitbit would really be destroyed if Apple lowers the price of the Series 2 to like $250, like the Series 1 is right now. If that actually happens, the Fitbit Ionic is kind of dead from the start. If the Apple Watch is actually cheaper, and it basically does everything the Fitbit does with just a little worse battery life, but overall more support, better design, better looking, more customization options. So I'm really hoping that the Series 2 gets cheaper because it's a great watch, and I think that the Series 2, even a year later, is still a great smartwatch, still would totally use, and if they're able to make it more affordable, that's all the better to the customer, but I'm worried they're not going to do that. I think that's almost too good to be true, and they might keep the Series 2 at the same price and make the Series 3 cost more or the same, and the Series 1 will just be there as well, or the Series 1 will retain its price point and the Series 2 will just not be there anymore, and this won't be referred to as the Series 3, they'll just refer it to the new Series 2 or whatever, something stupid like that. I hope they don't overcomplicate it. I hope that all these Apple Watches move down the line, so better spec ones get at better price, and of course that's what I want to see. And in terms of people asking like, what is this year's edition going to be? A lot of people said titanium, which is kind of cool because it's light and durable, but at the same time, a titanium Apple Watch wouldn't look that different from the regular Apple Watch Sport versions, and I think edition isn't necessarily about functionality, it's more about luxury because they made it out of gold and they made it out of ceramic material. However, if they made a titanium one and painted it a certain color that was not an option, you know, for watches like this, so perhaps we got a product red Apple Watch edition made of titanium, but of course it would still look like metal, it's just the metal is red, which would not be an option for the other bands. Or they paint it matte black so it matches your matte black iPhone 7, but that would suck because the edition's about to come out and that's not matte black. So I don't know, it's definitely a wild card. It's totally possible they just might make another ceramic one. I don't think they're interested in doing that solid gold one again, which is fine. They don't need to make that. 3 people bought it and Apple still made a profit, so let's hope they do something a tad more creative. Like I've said many times, I would love to see sapphire glass wrapped around the entire watch itself. Yes, it would be brittle, it wouldn't be functional, it would just look cool. You know, gold and ceramic aren't that super durable either, they just look really good. So of course, let me know what you think of the Apple Watch Series 3 in the comments below. I'm really excited to do my live stream reacting to the keynote so you guys can watch it happen with me, and I'll be right here live streaming it. And also, before I go, I wanted to do a quick shout out for my Patreon donor. There's a specific perk when you're on Patreon. If you donate a certain amount, I will check out your channel and I will mention it on here, and today that channel is Spyran, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He does little comedy skits and I do some myself, so I kind of relate to that, and he has a growing fan base. He hasn't quite reached monumental status, but I think you guys should check him out. They're kind of funny videos, and I appreciate his donation on the Patreon because that helps support me be able to afford all these expensive products that you guys love to see me talk about or rant about. So thank you for your donation, Spyran. Check him out in the description, and I can't wait to see you guys on Tuesday live. And also remember that tomorrow's video will be another episode of the collaboration between me and Marquez, and that was filmed a while ago, and it was filmed before we moved into this new set. So don't freak out, I didn't move back into the attic, that was just previously recorded. And of course, we'll be talking about the iPhone edition in tomorrow's video, so I hope you enjoy. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.